Welcome to the Study On podcast. I'm your host, Angie Bauman, and I am passionate about Bible study. Friend, my journey has not been an easy one. I am a trauma and abuse survivor, and I still walk with a limp. But I also walk in freedom because as I've studied God's Word, He has released me from layers of shame and invited me into a life filled with an abundance of His peace, joy, rest, and hope. I'm transformed because I study the Bible, and my heart's desire is to create offerings that help you get and stay in your Bible so you experience that transformation too. So thank you for spending a few minutes with me. Maybe it's as you enjoy your coffee or with pen and notebook ready, or you're driving to work or walking the dog from wherever you are in your day. Let's dive deep into a verse of scripture together. So we walk steady on. Let's get started. Welcome, friend. Today we are continuing on in our series of episodes where we are unpacking the 16 characteristics of love outlined by the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. And I published a Bible study on these verses in December of 2023, and it was the first study we journeyed through in Study On University. The learning was so rich during that study that I decided to bring pieces of it here to the podcast. And of course, I linked that study in the show notes if you would like to take a closer look. We've had some great guest chats with us already. And today my husband, Matt, is joining me to talk about love is not jealous. This should be fun. I actually talked all my boys into guesting during this podcast series. Alex will be here in 2 weeks to talk about love is not arrogant. And Josh, in his podcasting debut, will be with us the week after Alex to talk about love does not act unbecomingly. So all of that is coming in the weeks ahead. But today, I'm so happy to welcome Matt back to the show. Thank you for doing this again with me, my dear.
You are welcome. We were all threatened. We had to do it. Just putting that out there for the record.
Thank you very much.
That's not true. We want to do this with you. We're glad to do it with you.
That's exactly what I said you were supposed to say. Oh, friend, if you would like to study along with us today, you will find links to a study sheet and the step-by-step masterclass videos, which there are 2 videos. It takes about 20 minutes total to watch, and all of that is in today's show notes. Okay, friend, here we go. We are in 1 Corinthians 13, 4, and it says from the NASB 1995, love is patient, love is kind and is not jealous, love does not brag and is not arrogant. A little information about the book of 1 Corinthians. It was written by the Apostle Paul. It was written to the church of Corinth. The date of the writing is somewhere between AD 53 and 55. Chapter 13 has 13 verses. It is a chapter on agape love. And just again, if you would like more information on agape love, go back to the first episode in this series that I did with Katie Mason, where we just spent the whole time unpacking the love that Paul is describing as we're going through these other episodes. But this is a chapter about agape love. We're focused in verses 4-8, which is the description of love. Paul writes about things love is and things love is not. And today we're on one of the things love is not. And again, our verse, love is patient, love is kind and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. Step 1 in the Bible study method is to choose our word, and I will let Matt get us started with that. Take it away, my dear.
The word is jealous, and the definition, there's a couple different ones. One is suspecting rivalry in love, but maybe more appropriate or more common for us is envious feelings, resentful or angered towards someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I said this to Matt before we pressed record. This is one of the lessons in this study that convicted me the most. And it's really interesting to see something in yourself that you didn't know was there. And this one was tough for me. And the definition that I wrote down right off the bat was feeling resentful or angered towards someone for a perceived advantage or success, material or otherwise. And that, like right there with that definition, I just paused because I'm like, first of all, the word resentful made me uncomfortable. And then also perceived advantage or success. That made me pause too, because I'm like, you are resentful about something you are potentially making up in your head about a way someone else is getting ahead of you or has over overcome you. That's not the right actually way to say that, but has passed you up. Maybe that's the right way to say it. Yeah. I didn't like how that felt at all. And I knew I was in for it with this lesson.
Well, it's a feeling that we all have. I mean, we all experience moments where we find ourselves jealous or comparing ourselves to other people, wondering why somebody gets something else that we don't get or whatnot. And that's just a human emotion that you can't really control. I think it's just natural.
Yeah. And then how do we respond to that so that we are able to model, like we're able to speak to that and say, oh no, I'm not going to respond from that. That's not good. It's there. I see you, but no, that's not, that's not how I want to live my life. Yeah. How about some synonyms and antonyms?
Synonyms, envious and resentful are the first two, which we've already talked about. Desirous, possessive, coveting, all are synonyms.
Yeah. How about antonyms? These antonyms, when I put I'm like, these are telling. These were hard too. Yeah.
Content, satisfied, comfortable, grateful, giving, confident, happy.
Yes, those were really hard for me because I'm like, that's so much who I want to be. And yet it just was really convicting to me that I'm like, yes, when you're not, one of the words I wrote down for antonyms was appreciative. And I'm like, when I'm not appreciative, it's because I'm comparing and looking at other people and thinking I don't have what they have. And so I forget to be appreciative for all the things I do have.
Yeah.
All right. Step 2 is called investigate. We divide that up into 4 parts. Part 1 is to compare this word jealous in other translations. I found it looks like I have 5 on here. From the King James, envieth. From the Darby, emulous, which I had to look up. I think that's how you pronounce this, emulous. It means to be ambitious or competitive. That's what we were talking about, competitive. Phillips said possessive. The Message says doesn't want what it doesn't have. And I thought that's pretty clear language. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. And the NIRV does not want what belongs to others. Did you find anything other than those?
No, I found the Message one also, which I thought was really at the heart of it.
Part 2 is to research the original word, and Matt's going to help us out with that. The Strong's number is G2206 is where I was first led. What did you find there?
We found the Greek word Zηλόω or Zηλόω something. I've not studied Greek. I've never been to Greece, but it's in there. And it means to have warmth or feelings for or against. And it talks about, again, words like coveting. You're moved with envy. You are desirous and jealous over something. So those are tough things because
they are.
Those are big words.
Yes. When I kept going a little bit, it's from a word that means heat, which I thought was interesting. It also means zeal in a favorable sense, but jealousy in an unfavorable sense. So, but this word heat, I'm like, I feel that in me when I do, that burning when somebody has something that you don't have, and it feels like it's going to take over, and I hate that feeling. It's not good at all. And the primary verb that it's from means to be hot, and it means to boil of liquids or to glow of solids. And like, what a difference. Like, we can glow with the presence of the Holy Spirit in us, in our contentment, in our appreciation, in our thanksgiving, or we can boil, right, with this like jealousy and envy that's just like, it can be so pervasive.
Yeah, it's this is a tough one. I think your opening comments about it hitting hard, because it really boils down to having a perspective and taking time to understand what you do have. But I mean, from the moment we're children, we see things that we want and we don't have. And we watch it in our kids, and we watch it and we remember it in ourselves.
And it's so
And
easy. Like when we see it in our kids, you're so right. But when I'm like, I look at our boys, I'm like, what on earth could you need that you don't have? Right. Like, I mean, and it's just so, it's like, what is happening here? You have everything you need. You have, and yet I know other people on the things that I would say the same thing to me, right? Like, Angie, what is it that why do you think you need that? Or why do you want that? Or why does that person having that make you feel less?
Bother you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And and God has really called me to look at that as I've studied. Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But it's, I mean, it could be the materialistic things. It could be the experiential things. Why do they get to sit closer at a ball game than we get to? And, I mean, why do they get to go to the front of the line, whatever that might mean. But it could mean things like, gosh, I wish I was 6 foot tall like Alex, because I don't know. It just seems like tall is better. I don't know if it is. I mean, it comes with its own challenges, right?
Yes, the world tells us that it is. Yeah.
But somehow, yes, it seems like it is. So, do you get jealous of other people's characteristics just because you perceive that there's benefit to that? And I wish I could eat like anything I want and stay thin.
Right.
Some people have metabolism or whatever that does that. Young people in particular. Talking about Alex and Josh, maybe.
The calories that those boys eat is amazing.
Try not to keep up with them.
I also liked that the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament said that the word means, namely, it said, quote, to be stirred. And I thought that was interesting too. Like that, like something stirs inside you and makes you hot, right? Like it. And I thought, how do we then, the question that I felt like when I read that was, then how do we then, when we feel ourselves being stirred, be like, oh no, I'm going to unstir this. Like, I'm not going to sit with this, because I think we can definitely speak to it where it doesn't kind of form a life of its own. Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at a little bit of commentary. Part 3 is to read some commentary. This is a little ouchy too. From the Enduring Word, it says, envy is one of the least productive and most damaging of all sins. It accomplishes nothing except to hurt. Ugh, that's just tough. And then it says, is envy a small sin? Envy murdered Abel. That's from Genesis 4. Envy enslaved Joseph. That's from Genesis 37. Envy put Jesus on the cross. And here's a quote from Matthew 27:18. For he knew they had handed him over because of envy. So it's just talking about how destructive it is and how it can get when it's not reined in, when it's not acknowledged and reined in, it'll just keep going. It just keeps getting stronger. Yeah. Also in the Enduring Word, it says, many persons cover a spirit of envy and uncharitableness with the name of godly zeal. That was ouchy too, where like, I see that a lot in ministry where we sort of, I don't know if the word like blame God or something, because, well, I have to keep doing it this way because there's growth or there's fruit and there's a half truth in everything. Right. And so, but it's really like, people are not in it always for the faith community, to serve the faith community God's given them, but they're doing it so they have a bigger church than so-and-so, or they have a stronger ministry, a more successful ministry than so-and-so or whatever. And there's so much of it in church leadership, and it's scary. It's scary. Also from the Holman New Testament commentary, I read this. One may admire another for something that person is or has, and he may desire many of the same good things for himself. Jealousy and envy begin when admiration and desire turn to resentment of others for what they have. So I think that author is saying there's a fine line here. Like, you could admire someone. You can even desire something they have. Sometimes when we look at someone else and what they have, that can stir us to work harder towards a goal, right?
That's right.
Yes.
It can be used for good, or you can use it for good in your life by being motivational, aspirational.
Having a teachable heart. Somebody's a mentor. Why do we have mentors? Because we're like, wait a second, I think I would like to live my life the way you do. Or I think that I see something in your life that I don't have and I'd like to have. would you teach me how to get there? Would you teach me some, so definitely this like stirring can move us towards something positive. But I thought that was a really important, they're like the thing to watch for is if you feel resentment towards others for what they
Right.
have. Yeah. And then the Faith Life Study Bible says this refers to the intense desire to advance at the disadvantage of someone else. Those who are jealous resent the success of others. And I thought that was an important distinction too. Like
Yeah.
I want to advance
Right.
at your disadvantage.
Right.
That's really ouchy.
And another one similar to what you have been sharing is, and I don't know which commentary it was, but to envy is to feel uneasiness or discontent with other people's accomplishments. And it's like,
Yes.
wow.
Yes. Yeah. I think a good check in my spirit is when I'm really struggling to be happy for someone else about something.
Right.
Like, what is
Yeah.
that? What's that in
Yeah.
me that I'm really struggling to be happy? And we've talked about this, but in your fairly recent retirement within the last year, one of the things that was so hard for me was, and I hated this, and I confessed it multiple times. I'm like, you were so well loved, and you are so well respected in your area of professionalism. And people were so glad for you, but they were so sad that you were leaving. And there was a very large community outpouring of love for you and the things that you've done in your career. This makes me cry. And I was so happy for you. And I was so happy for us. And I was also jealous because I'm like, I don't have that kind of career. I don't have that kind of, when we were younger, I thought I would have a career too. And probably someone listening to me like this, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. How do you think you don't have a career? But that's is what the problem is, right? When we look at someone else and we say, that's what a successful career looks like, or that's what, I answered this calling and a calling to set aside something that I thought I would do, like corporate and stuff like that, to raise our children, which we agreed on, which I'm not sorry about. And I've been in pastoral ministry for 2 decades, which is not sometimes a very elevated role. And yet I wouldn't change it. And at the same time, I was struggling so much with just not having it. I don't, it was just messy. And I just had to stay on top of it. I just be honest. I just had to stay on top of it because I'm like, I don't like how I feel about this. I don't like that there's a piece of me that's just struggling to be happy for you because you have something that I don't have. Oh, it's just so gross.
Right. It is, but we have to work through it. And I think you mentioned that earlier. It's, if you are able to acknowledge it and own it, then you're able to work through it.
I think so.
In your own mind, in your own spirit of.
Will we lay that before the Lord? Will we? And say, I'm just confessing this.
Put it in context.
I'm just confessing
I mean,
this.
it takes time sometimes to just work through the context of it and say, but I mean, look at all the things that I have. And at the end of the day, whatever I have and wherever I am, somebody is jealous of that because
I
have so much.
Right. Exactly. And to just help to ask the Lord to help me keep that in perspective. Because of this one little thing that in my mind, going back to what it says, the perceived success of someone else, because of this one little thing, really, not that your success was little, that's not what I mean, but this one little thing in your life that you don't have, or you perceve you don't have.
Right.
Are you going to give up the contentment, the appreciation, and the satisfaction that you actually do have in the majority of your life?
Right.
Are you going to let this get in the way? You know?
And you also have no idea what it costs people when you think that
you know how they got there or whatever.
You have no idea that how that balances out, whatever that whatever that is you're jealous of, their success,
what if you had it,
riches, their
if you had that, what you wouldn't be able to have it, right? Because I mean, and I go back to that all the time in that particular situation, because I'm like, I could have had a different professional life, and I'm insecure about the professional life I have or didn't have, and yet I would not change the choices I've made at any place along the way. And so not like some of the little ones, but you know what I mean? Like the major decisions that we've made about how my life has unfolded since we've been married, I wouldn't change any of that. And so part of it's just it doesn't matter what path you take. There are going to be things that then you don't have on that
Right.
path. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, not to belabor it, but I think that's one of the reasons it just hit, because I'm like, I understand exactly what this feels like for sure. So, all right. Part 4 in the investigate step is to try to rewrite the verse in our own words. And so not even the whole verse, Matt, if you don't want to, but just this, like, love is not jealous. How would you rewrite that?
Oh, love does not produce feelings of wanting what others have.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Good.
Mm-hmm.
I put love does not stir and boil with resentment, built from a strong desire to have what someone else has and wish that they did not have it. Yeah. Saying, yeah, that just, that stirring and boiling. I'm like, when you feel like that, that is not, that's a sign to pause and say to the Lord, I need your help here, because I don't feel right now like I know you would have me feel in this. Yeah. All right. Step 3 is to find characteristics of God that stand out to us as we study. I wrote that God is pure, that he loves me without considering what it costs him to do so. His love for me isn't tainted or affected by what I have or don't have or do or don't do. Like, he just loves me purely. And that was important as I was studying. But then also I put that he's my hiding place, because he's, like I was talking before, he's where I can run to when I experience these stirrings of jealousy and resentment. If I will just pay attention to that, because really it's about an unmet need. I was listening to somebody the other day and they said the unmet needs of our childhood become the demands and resentment of our adulthood, I think is the way they said that. I might not be saying it exactly right, but these feelings, these stirrings of resentment and jealousy can point me to an unmet need, right? There's something about, like, ultimately, I'm jealous of your successful retirement conclusion and all that, and the accolades you got and all that, because I feel overlooked. I feel overlooked. But I can go to the Lord and say, if I'm just honest, I can say, I feel overlooked. And he can remind me in a bazillion different ways that only God can, that he can meet that need, that he sees me, that he knows me, that he loves me, that he sees my faithfulness, that he cares about the fact that this is hurting, or, and I can get that need met in him. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Yes.
Well,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
I have, I circled peace on the fruit of the Spirit, because to me, peace brings contentment.
Yeah. Yeah. And vice versa, right? Contentment brings peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when
I think that, yeah.
I think when you're content and you recognize the blessings you have, and then it's hard to be jealous.
Yes.
It's harder to be envious of people when you
because
recognize
you just know you have what you need.
What you have.
Yeah.
And the value of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that the Lord's really taught me, even just in the past, maybe even just through that situation some months ago when you were retired, is one of the things that I felt like he was saying very gently, but it just felt like, daughter, if you're not content here, you'll not be content at the next place either. Like, contentment is not something you find when you get the next thing, right?
Right.
It's just never coming until you find it in the place that you are. And I'm still sitting with that, and just really trying to watch for places in my life where I'm not content, where I'm not peaceful. And you know so well that I have days I do well with that and days that I don't do well with that, which I think is probably true for most of it. But on the days that I don't do well, will I not make my decisions from that place?
Right.
Right. Will I say, this is a bad day, this is a bad moment, this is a bad circumstance, and I'm not going to globally say this is what my life is because this one area I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Which probably leads us well into step 4, which is identifying the lie.
Yeah.
What in all of this, there's probably about 27 things we could state here, but what's one that stands out to you?
That if you have what others have, then you'll be happy.
Yeah. Yes.
You'll just be happy. That's all you need, is what they have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. That will solve the problem. That's so good, Matt. So bad, but so good. But so good to call it out. Mine different, same. If they I put, if they have that, there will be less for you. Like this scarcity mentality, right? So be afraid that you can't, that if they have it, you better get it because there's not enough for everybody. Right. Like, and really it's about enough peace or enough contentment. Like, because we do make up stories that person has something that I don't have, or I perceive they have something that I perceive I don't have. And so they have peace and I don't have peace. And so I need to take it so I have peace or something, you know, and it's really not even the thing that we are craving. It's the contentment that we're
Right.
craving, which is
And
never
we
going to be
think it'll
solved,
be brought by
right, with
whatever it is
anything,
we've
right?
focused
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why why we have this problem with gambling or whatever,
Yes.
probably because for so many it's materialistic.
Yeah.
So if I have more money, if I have a lot of money,
Then I'll be happy. Right.
because I'll
Yes.
have everything I want.
And we ignore all the stories of people who are
go broke after winning the
ridiculously
lottery.
wealthy
and
right. Miserably unhappy,
and then,
right?
Yes, and then that too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And anyway, those are
So
lies.
good.
In the lie that you deserve what other people have. You just deserve it, so you should go get it, you know.
Oh, yeah, this is tangly. This is
Yeah.
it's good to talk about this, but it is it does raise a lot of awareness in me. So, all right. Well, as we wrap up, step 5 is called So What, where we make note of a key takeaway. And this was mine. I put, when I feel envious, I can ask myself, where is that coming from? What am I afraid of? And then I can move from envy to love and excitement for someone else. I want to be that person. I want it when somebody says even somebody that's doing something similar to me, when a friend says, I got this book deal, or I got booked to speak here, or this or that, like, I want to have genuine, I want my first response to be genuine excitement. And most of the time it is.
Right.
Most of the time it is.
Right.
And when it's not, I need to look at that.
Right.
And I need to say, why is this hard for you to rejoice in their accomplishments, success, whatever, right? Yeah. How about you? A key takeaway?
Don't let envy put blinders on what you have and make you just a grumpy old man.
Is that what's your problem?
Speaking to myself a little bit, I'm not sure.
So when you start being grumpy, maybe I'll be like, Matt, what is it? Where's the jealousy? Oh, my friend, we would love to hear your takeaway. You can email me anytime at steadyonpodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to hold this study in your hand as we travel through the characteristics of love, you can buy the workbook on Amazon. And of course, that link is in today's show notes. If you'd like to be a part of Community Bible Study, I encourage you to check out Study on University and join us for our current study. And the link for where we are studying or what we're studying and all that kind of good stuff is also in the show notes. If you have not yet, I would be so grateful if you would subscribe to the podcast on whatever directory you use to listen. It only takes a second, and it guarantees you will see every episode. And one more thing, if someone came to mind as you were listening today, I would love it if you would share the episode with them. Inviting them into what we're doing is another great way to support the show. Thank you again for joining me, Matt. I love doing this with you. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I like it too.
Oh, and thank you. Well, I said I love it. You only like it?
I love it too. No, I mean, I'm jealous of your ability to say the right thing.
Thank you so much for listening. I pray wherever your day takes you, you're walking in the confident knowledge that you are a beloved, cherished child of God. Peace.